in a sweltering office in Phoenix, Arizona, where the desert heat makes the air shimmer above the asphalt. A 30-second decision cost a young girl everything, Maya. A black girl of just 15 fixed an old lady's car. When the woman asked how much she owed, Maya replied with 5 words that would seal her fate in that place. It was nothing. "Ma'am." Minutes later, the arrogant boss appeared, screaming, humiliating the girl in front of the entire crew and customers, and fired her without mercy. What no one there imagined was that the old lady was not who she seemed. And that brutal firing would be just the preamble to something that would change Maya's life and that community forever. It was an unforgiving Tuesday in Phoenix. The thermometer on the outside wall of the shop read 105 degrees Fahrenheit. One of those dry days where the sun feels like a physical weight on your shoulders. At Henderson's Auto Repair, an old metal shed smelling of old grease, burnt rubber, and sweat, Maya wiped her forehead with the back of a gloved hand while tightening the last bolt of an intake manifold at only 15 years old. That girl with long braids tied in a tight bun, wearing navy blue coveralls stained with oil and 2 sizes too big for her, already knew a V8 engine better than most grown men in that state. It wasn't by chance. Her father, Marcus Jackson, had been a legend on the south side of the city. Everyone knew Marcus. He was the kind of mechanic who could diagnose a problem just by hearing a car pass on the street. He fixed anything with a smile on his face, and often accepted apple pies or promises of future payment from those who didn't have dollars in their pockets. Marcus had passed away 3 years earlier, the victim of a sudden heart attack while working. He left his wife Sarah, weakened by chronic kidney disease and tied to an expensive dialysis routine, and his daughter Maya with an invisible but powerful inheritance: integrity and the gift of mechanics. Maya learned everything from her father. Since she was 8, she spent weekends under chassis. She didn't just learn how to change an alternator, bleed brakes, or grind a cylinder head. She learned that mechanics is about trust. It's about ensuring a single mother gets to work and a father gets his kids to school safely. She learned that dignity doesn't have a price listed on the service menu. On that suffocating afternoon, while Maya was washing her hands with cheap citrus degreaser, she heard the unmistakable noise of a failing engine choking as if it had asthma. A 1969 Cadillac DeVille, a classic that had seen better days, entered the shopyard making a horrible metallic clatter like nails in a blender. Thick, black smoke poured from the exhaust, drawing a toxic cloud in the still Arizona air. The car looked about to explode. From the driver's side, a lady of about 75 stepped down. White hair impeccably combed, but wearing a worn wool coat that looked far too hot for that weather. She held an old handbag and looked around with a certain shyness and apprehension. "Good morning, dear," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Could you take a look at my car? It's making a strange noise, and I'm afraid of getting stranded on the interstate." Maya wiped her hands on a red rag hanging from her back pocket and smiled. A genuine smile that lit up her grease-smudged face. "Of course, ma'am. I'll see what's going on right now. You can wait over there in the shade near the water cooler. The heat is dangerous today." The shop owner, Mr. Henderson, was in his air-conditioned office, visible through the greasy glass, screaming on the phone. Henderson was a heavy-set man with a reddish face and a short temper. He had inherited the shop from his father-in-law and managed the business as if he were at war with the world. He treated employees like disposable parts and customers like walking ATMs. Especially Maya. He had hired her only because he needed cheap labor and knew the Jackson family was desperate for money for Sarah's medical treatments. He paid Maya half of what he paid the other mechanics. She accepted it because she had to. Maya popped the heavy hood of the Cadillac, and her trained eyes scanned the engine bay. The diagnosis was almost immediate, but devastating for a tight budget. The timing belt was hanging by a thread, literally shredding. 2 spark plugs were soaked in oil, indicating worn piston rings. The air filter looked like it hadn't been changed since the Reagan administration. That car was running on miracles and stubbornness. "Ma'am," Maya began, trying to find the right words not to scare the woman. "You know this car needs a lot of attention, right? It's dangerous to drive like this." The lady, who said her name was Eleanor, sighed deeply, sound that seemed to carry the weight of the world. I know, my child, but it's what I have. This car belonged to my late husband. It's the only thing I have left of him, and it's what takes me to doctor appointments. Without it, I am nothing. Maya felt a tightness in her chest. She knew that look. It was the same look her mother Sarah had when hospital bills arrived in the mail and the bank balance was negative. It was the look of silent despair. Maya made a decision. She glanced at the office. Henderson was turned away, gesturing. "Wait a moment, Ms. Eleanor." Maya worked for the next 2.5 hours under the scorching sun. The heat was so intense, the tools burned her hands through the thin gloves. She replaced the belt, using a part she had kept in her own locker, a leftover from a previous job that was in good condition. Cleaned the carburetor meticulously, adjusted the gap on the spark plugs, and topped off the oil with a bottle she bought herself from the convenience store next door. She did everything with almost artistic care, as her father had taught her. "Sign your work with excellence, Maya," he used to say. When she finished, she turned the key. The Cadillac's V8 woke up with a smooth, powerful, rhythmic purr. As if it had traveled back in time to 1969, Ms. Eleanor stood up from the plastic chair where she was waiting and smiled. "My God, my dear. It sounds like magic. You are so young and so talented. How much do I owe you?" "I have some bills here." She began to open her purse with trembling hands. Maya wiped the sweat dripping down her neck and said, without thinking twice, "You don't owe me anything, ma'am. Keep your money." Eleanor blinked, confused, freezing with her hand inside her purse. "What do you mean, child? I saw you working in the sun for hours. Parts oil that costs money. Had the parts here. Ms. Eleanor and my father always said, there are people who need help more than a receipt. You'll need that money for your appointments or for gas. Go with God, please." Eleanor's eyes welled up. She held Maya's grease-stained hands with her own, soft and clean. "May God bless you, my child. You are an angel in this arid land." It was at that exact moment that the office door flew open violently. Mr. Henderson came out, his face red with rage, marching toward them like a bull. "What the hell is going on here?" His voice echoed through the entire shed, making the other mechanics stop what they were doing. Maya felt her stomach turn. A cold fear ran down her spine. "Boss, I just helped the lady with her car. Helped." "How, Maya?" He looked at the car, seeing the engine clean and running perfectly. "You did an engine service, carburetor adjustment. I saw it on the cameras. Where's the work order? Where's the payment?" "She can't afford it, Mr. Henderson. I use my own spare parts. I didn't charge for labor." Henderson let out a cruel, dry laugh. "You didn't charge? Who do you think you are, Mother Teresa? This is a business, girl. It's an American capitalist company, not a charity for old ladies and deadbeats. Sir, please don't speak to her like that." Maya tried to intervene, but he cut her off. "Shh. You are stealing from me. Stealing my time, stealing my space, stealing my resources. You are fired." Silence fell over the shop like a heavy stone. The other mechanics, older men who had watched Maya grow up there, looked at the floor. No one dared to defend the 15-year-old black girl against the tyrant owner. Cowardice hung in the air along with the smell of gasoline. Ms. Eleanor was pale, her hand on her chest. "Listen, sir, for God's sake, don't do this to the girl. I'll pay. I'll figure it out." "I'll get the money. You don't have to pay anything," Henderson shouted. "And get off my property before I call the police for trespassing. And you, Maya, get your junk and get out of here now. If I see you here in 10 minutes, I'm calling security." Maya felt hot tears well up, mixing with the sweat and dirt on her face, but she kept her head held high. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her sob. She went to her locker, grabbed her old backpack with patches, packed her few personal tools, and walked toward the exit. Before getting into the car, Ms. Eleanor touched Maya's shoulder and whispered with an intensity that didn't match her fragile appearance. "This won't stay like this, my child. Trust. The universe has a way of correcting things." Maya didn't understand. She just nodded, defeated, and walked out onto the boiling pavement of Phoenix. The walk home was long. She walked for 40 minutes under the relentless sun to save the bus fare. She lived in a simple neighborhood in a small 2-bedroom house with peeling paint. Upon entering, the air was stuffy. They saved on air conditioning. Her mother, Sarah, was lying on the couch with deep dark circles under her eyes, watching a cooking show.
Hi, honey.
Home early today? Sarah asked, trying to sit up.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, it was slow. Mr. Henderson, let me go early.
Maya lead? She couldn't tell the truth. She couldn't add more stress to her mother's blood pressure. That night, Maya didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, listening to her mother. Maya stopped on the sidewalk. She read the name again. Jackson, her last name? She felt her legs grow weak. It couldn't be real. Must be another Jackson. The automatic glass door slid open, and Ms. Eleanor appeared. But this time, the transformation was shocking. No worn coat or old shoes. She wore a cream Italian linen suit, discreet but clearly valuable jewelry, and exuded a serene authority. Come in, my child. We were waiting for you. Maya couldn't speak. She walked in, looking at that temple of mechanics as if she were in a fever dream. The air conditioning was delightfully cool. It smelled of new cars and espresso. Eleanor guided Maya to an office with a panoramic view of the empty shop floor. Sit down, Maya, said Eleanor. I don't understand the car. You said you didn't have money? Eleanor smiled and her eyes sparkled with a gentle cunning. Let me introduce myself properly. I am Eleanor Vance. My husband founded one of the largest logistics networks in the American Southwest. When he passed, I sold the company, but I kept the investments. But what about the old Cadillac? Ah, old Frank. I love that car, but it is my disguise. Eleanor leaned forward. You see, Maya, I invest in local businesses, but I got tired of investing in business plans and spreadsheets. I decided to invest in people. For 2 years, I have traveled the city dressed simply with my old car, asking for help. I test people's character. Maya was open-mouthed. I went to 5 shops before Henderson's that day. At 2, they ignored me. At 3, they tried to charge me $2,000 for repairs the car didn't need. They saw a confused old lady and tried to extort me. Eleanor picked up a folder on the desk. And then I found you. You weren't just honest. You were compassionate. You used your own parts. You protected me from your boss. You reminded me of my grandson, whom we lost tragically a few years ago. He had that same fire in his eyes, that same kindness. She pushed the folder toward Maya. What is this? Maya asked, her voice choking up. This is the deed to this place. I bought this building, equipped it with the best the automotive world has to offer, and I registered the company. It isn't mine. It is yours. Maya felt the world spin. Mine? I'm 15 years old, Ms. Eleanor. I don't have money. You are 15, so legally your mother will sign as guardian until you reach adulthood. But the business is yours. I've taken care of everything. I paid the rent for the space for 5 years in advance. There is working capital in the account. And I also purchased a premium health insurance plan for your family. Your mother will receive the best kidney treatment money can buy starting today. Maya broke down. She covered her face with her calloused hands and wept. She cried out all the fear, all the humiliation, all the grief for her father, all the anguish for her mother. Eleanor stood up and hugged the girl, a firm maternal embrace. Thank you. I don't even know how to thank you, sobbed Maya. You already thanked me by being who you are in a world that gave you every reason to be hard. Now dry those tears. We have work to do. You need to hire your crew. The news of the opening of Jackson Auto Care spread like wildfire through Phoenix. The story of the prodigy girl who was gifted a shop by a mysterious millionaire made the local news and went viral on social media. But Maya didn't let the fame go to her head. On the contrary, she made an executive decision in her first week. Ms. Eleanor, she said, I want to hire people that no one else wants. Maya hired young people from the outskirts, ex-convicts, who wanted a fresh start, women who were ridiculed in other shops. She created a training program. She taught technique, but she also taught what her father taught her, integrity. Here we don't sell parts, we sell safety and truth, she repeated at every morning meeting. The shop thrived absurdly. Customers came from other cities. It wasn't just for the impeccable technical quality, but for the atmosphere. People trusted Maya's team. Her mother, Sarah, with proper treatment, regained her health and vitality. She took over the administrative side of the shop, bringing organization and a motherly touch to the granite reception desk. Seeing her mother healthy, working with a smile behind the counter, was the greatest paycheck Maya could receive. 6 months later, on a busy Saturday morning, a familiar car pulled into the customer parking lot. A black sedan, slightly battered. It was Mr. Henderson. He got out of the car looking older, more tired, and smaller. He looked at the glass facade, at the luxury cars being serviced, at the diverse and happy team working in the climate-controlled bays. He walked to the reception. Maya was there, reviewing an estimate on a tablet. She looked up. Silence fell over the lobby. "Maya," he began, his voice shaky. "It's true," and Maya straightened her posture. She was no longer the scared girl in baggy coveralls. She was the owner. "Good morning, Mr. Henderson. How can I help you?" "Look, Maya, my business. Things aren't going well. Since that day, it seems like a black cloud parked over my shop. Customers disappeared. My mechanics quit. I came to ask if you wouldn't be interested in buying used equipment. I'm closing my doors." Maya looked at him. She could humiliate him. She could scream at him like he did to her. She could kick him out. The taste of revenge was right there available, but she looked at the portrait of her father on the office wall. "I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Henderson," she said sincerely. "But we only work with new and certified equipment." He lowered his head, defeated. "I understand. I was an idiot that day. I lost the best mechanic I ever had." "You didn't lose a mechanic, Mr. Henderson. You lost the opportunity to be human. You chose immediate profit over loyalty." At that moment, Eleanor walked out of the back office. "Henderson," she said, her voice icy. He turned and paled upon recognizing her. "You, the lady with the Cadillac, it is me. You know, Henderson, I bought this land and funded this dream purposely 3 miles from your shop. I wanted you to see every day what happens when you treat people with respect. The bankruptcy of your business wasn't caused by the market. It was caused by your arrogance. Money goes where trust is." Henderson said nothing. He just nodded, ashamed, and shuffled out. He was never seen in the city's automotive business again. Over the years, Maya and Eleanor became inseparable. Maya finished high school and graduated in mechanical engineering, all while managing the business. Eleanor was the grandmother she never had, present at every graduation, at every birthday. When Eleanor fell ill, years later, Maya didn't leave her side at the hospital. She held the hand of the lady who changed her life. "Oh yeah," Eleanor whispered, weak but lucid. "You turned that investment of mine into the best business of my life. Not for the money, but for the lives you touched. Look at your team. Look at your mother. You fixed much more than cars, my dear." Today, Jackson Auto Care is a benchmark across the state of Arizona. Young people from all over the country send resumes dreaming of working there. Maya Jackson, now a grown and respected woman, never forgot where she came from. She keeps in her office under a glass dome the old timing belt from that '69 Cadillac and the dirty gloves she wore the day she was fired. They serve to remind her that kindness is not an act of weakness, but the most powerful force in the universe. And that sometimes, when you think you've lost everything, destiny is just clearing space for something infinitely greater.